Over the last 10 years, people have become accustomed to this term BIM, Building Information Modeling, and the whole world of what digitalization could mean. A lot of those discussions is about how you improve the process, the productivity, through the delivery phase. That may be 2 or 3 or 4 years. Very little discussion, I believe, has gone on about how you improve the whole life cycle. That could be 60, 70 or 80 years. I think clients will eventually become very excited about the opportunities they have to save operation costs over its life cycle, and that'll begin to drive innovation, begin to drive behaviours, and certainly begin to influence commercial models. If we move the clock forward by 15 years, then clients will have understood the value of the life cycle of their asset and will be beginning to ask their consultants on day one very different questions. First of all, I think they'd be better at specifying what the digital output should be for a concept design, for a detailed design, for an asset on handover. I think there's a long way to go yet. I think of the day-to-day pressures on these railway assets to continue to put more volume, more capacity through the constrained asset. On one hand, that demands a sort of a day-to-day attention to detail that detracts from the new discussion. But it also provides an opportunity where technology must be at the centre. And I think where organisations have open minds, look towards the future, encourage innovation, encourage consultants to bring new ideas, then you can begin to conceive an environment where change does happen, and change does happen more quickly. If you want to manufacture off-site and therefore build more efficiently, building becomes assembly of manufactured components, you can only do that if you get the model digitalized at a very early stage. You ask yourself why the automotive industry invested in robotics and digitalization. Actually, it was driven by their commercial model of the life cycle of a car. How often do you recall cars, which is very expensive to do and reputationally very damaging? You minimize that by getting the build right first time. You do that by perfecting the design data at the start and by perfecting the manufacturing process. But you look at who owns the cost of that reject, of that recall. That's the car manufacturer. You look at who owns the cost of a reject or a recall in a building 10 years after it's been delivered. It isn't the person who first designed it. And therefore the value in investing in the technology and the training and the organisational change is not easily seen. That value is lost until you can bring together that value model and that commercial equation, that algorithm that gives people skin in the game, makes it worthwhile for them to innovate. I think it's going to be very hard to put this ultimate model together. I think to be able to get design and coordination perfect, to create the opportunity to take things off-site, to manufacture them in much more favourable conditions, and to bring them back so that they really are right first time, is a huge potential win. I certainly have an aspiration that I'm going to hand over Crossrail twice. I'm going to hand over the physical asset, and I'm going to hand over the digital asset. If you're in an operation room in 15 years' time, then you'll be able to understand the condition of your asset. You won't change the asset because it's just delivered 50,000 miles or because the oil cans run out. You'll change the asset because your remote monitoring will tell you that that asset is ready to be changed. That's a third generation maintenance sort of philosophy, if you like. If you were to walk as an owner, a maintainer of a station, then you would be carrying your digital monitor with you. The assets that sit behind the surface will tell you who they are, where they are, when they need changing, when they need replacing. The size of the maintenance team will be materially smaller than it was 10 years previously. The station would be clean as if it was on its opening day. The lights would be burning as if they're in their first hour of operation. And everything would work. And I suppose the difference from the business model is that this is likely to cost half of what it costs today. It begins to sort of, when you hang these things together in parallel, make cities smart cities. And it's all about the data. It's all about the monitoring. And it's all about the philosophy that owners carry today and how they need to develop very quickly into the opportunities of tomorrow. Modern construction sites will look and feel a lot cleaner. These sites should be safe, they should be healthy, they should be innovative, they should attract professional people, tradespeople, as many girls as boys, exciting places to work, because it's where you can innovate, it's where you can share best practices, where you have a very high set of values, and where the output is very demonstrable, very exciting, fantastic to have teams of people building across complex boundaries, delivering highly sophisticated, integrated infrastructure. It's a great profession to be in. Recently we've experimented with internet technology to make sure that as people pass our job sites, they're able to use the layered technology, they're able to use their iPads, their iPhones, whatever portable device they're using, to access not just what they can physically see, but to access the data that they can then mine beneath it. This is a very important way that we communicate to our 10,000 strong workforce. It isn't just what you read or see or hear, it's what you're able to access to. So I think access to information in a very broad sense is very important. People are interested in major programs. They're interested in what's behind the hoarding and what they can't see, and I think to provide access is very important, and I think we're doing a huge amount of innovation work to make sure that that is accessible, whether it's the archaeology that we find, whether it's the complex engineering, whether it's the future opportunity and the future product that we're developing. All of that should be easily accessible from day one, to make sure that people understand why it is we're disrupting their lives and the net benefit it'll bring in the long term.